morning, everybody. What KanhawakeTV? Chief Jeff Diabo here, giving my update on the former chiefs uncut. And we have a lot to go through, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'll start with the files that I'm on. So I took the lead on education, economic development. I'm secondary. Indigenous Rights and Research. I'm secondary, specifically with regard to the seniory. External government relations. I'm involved. Secondary to the Canada file. Primary on the Quebec. And I also participate at the municipal level, which is a new one that was brought into play. I'm secondary on the MCK Governance portfolio, which deals with internal processes and documents. I'm also on regulatory boards and commissions, specifically with regard to the tobacco file. I'm involved with community safety with regard to inspections and enforcement. And I think that's pretty much it, other than some of the other files that I've been participating in. So I'll get right into it. On the education side, I recently met with the board to talk about two issues. First of all, I know that the relationship has been a little bit strained between council and education, so my interest was in reestablishing the liaison function. And I also discussed with them very briefly the issue with Gariwanoru, who is also looking for a new home. They're the second one, in addition to the library, and I can talk about the library later on. So essentially what came out of that was we're going to have another meeting, a bigger meeting in the new year with all participants in relation to the Gariwanoru issue, in order to try to find a workable solution in order to maintain the peace in the community. So, MCK Governance. Internally, it deals with processes and documents, some of them that pertain to council, either its role or its function. During the elections, I talk about some of these things, and they will be brought to the community. Some of them will be brought to the community in the new year for input and feedback, as some of the documents are directly related to council's role and function, that the community needs to be involved in those things, seeing as how the council works for the community. That's going to be in the new year, and let me see, that's pretty much it on that one. On the regulatory boards and commissions, I had the tobacco. It's a draft law right now. We already had one meeting. The tobacco working group wants to sit down for one final review of the draft law to make sure that everything is proper, all T's crossed and I's dotted, so to speak. And then from there, it's going to be submitted to the CDMP process. Let me see. Community safety, inspections and enforcement is the file that I have. However, there's not really too much going on that right now. A lot of it had to do with, example, I was at the signing for this new program that's being put in place for receiving parolees back into the community. Because in my opinion, there are people, they are our people, and we can't forget them. And from a more culturally appropriate process, we're supposed to be looking after our people and helping them with whatever issues they have in order to become back a fully functioning and contributing member of society. So it's not about just putting them in jail and forgetting about them. It's like, let's help them get back to where they need to be. So that was done at the Peacekeeper Station about a month ago. External government and relations. I'm involved at the Canada level as a secondary. We met with their team once already, just kind of like a meet and greet. There's a draft MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, that's in the process right now. It hasn't been signed yet. We're still looking at that to make sure that it's going to meet Kahnawake's needs. I have the lead on the Quebec file. Again, the same thing. There's a draft MOU that's in place right now that hasn't been signed. There is a possibility it may get signed before the holidays. However, that's still kind of up in the air right now. We met with their team, kind of a meet and greet again. So Jeff Kelly was there, Samuel Fizette, and they had another woman. I don't recall her name, and my apologies to her. There's a new file that's in place, Kahnawake relationship with municipalities. And that's Chief Yohahio Dalil that has that one. However, I'm involved as a secondary or support to him on these things. We met with mayors already with some of the surrounding municipalities, and they were there were Delson, St. Catherine. There was the Director General of the MRC, which is the surrounding municipalities. They already have their own group. And the same thing there. They want to establish a relationship with Kahnawake in order to move forward. A lot of these things have to do with the reconciliation that Canada's going through right now. So we're getting a lot of interest in speaking with and having relationships with Kahnawake in order to move forward. And we're promoting is Kahnawake jurisdiction and lands and all of those things. So they're all getting the same type of discussions from us. Following up to that, the specific claims is a big one that's going on right now. Canada is looking at amending their spec claims policy. And it's not only at the AFN level, but we also had an internal meeting with their team. Their team consists of Richard Lamontagne, Francis Routier, and Maggie Pequin are the ones that we met with. There are issues with the policy itself going forward. Issues were not only relayed to them here internally, but also at the AFN level. I attended a workshop on the spec claims maybe 3 weeks ago in Ottawa, where they talked about the process, what they're looking at doing, and they're basically doing a consultation with First Nations to get feedback on it and to get input on what may or may not be done as far as amendments to the process. And the same thing, there was quite a few issues raised with the process. A lot of it had to do with land and things of that nature, jurisdiction. Also at the AFN level, they're talking about creating an independent center for the resolution of spec claims. That was raised also at the AFN, which we were at last week. And the issues that people have is they don't want to see the AFN becoming the proponent for the resolution of these claims. They want the AFN to be a support mechanism and not the lead. The individual communities or nations, if you will, are gonna maintain the lead on their own files with support. The independent center is going to be a long-term thing. It's not anything that's coming soon. They realize that there's a lot of issues, and it's going to be a long process to get that in place. Internally, some of the things that we've been doing. So I met internally with an elder who's proposing organizing an elders advisory group to council. Seeing as that a lot of the elders that were here in the past have now left us. So we need to bring in that connection back to what the elders experience and what their knowledge, in order to help us make proper decisions in moving forward. So the elder already knows a few people that are interested, and they're gonna initiate contacts, and we're gonna have some further discussions on that one. As I stated internally, the tobacco, the draft law is in place. We met with the working group. That's going for a final review and then to be submitted into the law making or passing process. On the regulatory boards and commissions, we just assigned some new members to the gaming commission. So they're organizing themselves and they're getting ready to take up where everything was left off. Another one that we're looking at is the alcohol board. We're down to very minimal participation there, so we're looking at a process for getting people involved there in order to start looking again at alcohol permits and things of that nature. So the AFN we were at December 2 to 5, and it was funny because there was we met. Trudeau was there with his team, and the representative from Quebec at the federal level was there, with, and he spoke only in French, which people found as was an affront to First Nations, found it to be very disrespectful. The Grand Chief did make a statement to him that, you know, it is Kahnawake territory, it's unceded lands, and basically that we're willing to have a discussion with him on his people packing up and leaving. It was kind of a joke, but kind of serious. So I don't think he really took that very well, but it was received quite well by the audience. Let me see, they talked about their independent, that's a long-term policy on the spec claims. Let's see, internally we have offers from Canada to negotiate. Currently, it's in regard to the Mercier Bridge, the CPR rail line, the CSX rail line, which no longer exists, the hydro lines as well. And there's a fifth one, but we're not really looking at that yet. We're looking at these four here right now. And even though we received a letter from Canada offering to negotiate, we haven't decided yet on our approach. On the Gariwanoro issue, we still need to discuss that. They're looking potentially at having a piece of land behind Garunyanuha. And that discussion still needs to be had in order to make sure that it meets everybody's needs and it doesn't upset any of the programming that's already in place. So that's going to happen in the new year. Other than that, that's kind of a broad and general overview. I know we don't have a lot of time here on this, but I want to address one of the things here when we talked about the political priorities that were put in place and political principles to guide decision making. I know there's been some public awareness with these things. They were distributed at a community meeting. But one of the ones that's being pointed out seems to be kind of left out is the idea of Kahnawake jurisdiction. We had a discussion on that, and we're pushing for Kahnawake jurisdiction in all areas, not only promoting it, but protecting it. So that's one of the things that we want to make sure that it gets out there, that people are aware that we're not forgetting about it, and it's not being dropped to the side, and we are focusing on it. And just as a reminder, so here's the sheet that was shared at the community meeting. So for those that didn't attend or may not have seen this document, political principles to guide decision making, language, culture, and identity, self-determination and jurisdiction, self-sufficiency, holistic support and well-being. And that's in relation to making sure support is available to our community members to support and foster emotional, physical, spiritual, mental health, and well-being. So that's pretty broad. Excuse me. Environmental stewardship. And as everybody may be aware or not, we had the fuel spill in Chateauguay, and that's still bouncing around. We're looking at suing Chateauguay to recoup a lot of the money that we spent having to deal with that issue. Unification is another one. We need to talk about how do we deal with things from a community level, collectively, instead of just always falling to individually. And here it says strength is unity, and that's very important. Responsible decision making is one of the last ones. So this is where, we talking to an elder and actually they felt that part of what's missing in some of the decision making is the perspective from the elders who have knowledge and experience about things that happened in the past, how they happened, why they happened, and in relation to decisions that were made, why and what contributed to those decisions. And it'll only help us moving forward. One of the other things that we talked about was the possibility of a youth advisory council. Although we haven't really had any type of extensive discussion on that, it's another thing that we're tossing around and looking at. Land back is a big issue. We've had some offers of different lots around. We had one come to us just the other day with a piece over by Longueuil area. There's another one that we're seriously considering that's down towards St. Remy. There's another one out by Leary that we were looking at. We're still talking about that and whether or not that would meet our needs. Personally, I feel that any land that they want to offer, we'll take it. However, in consideration of the community position of not one more inch, we'll take it, but we're not giving up anything. So that's something that council is standing on, not one more inch. We'll take it, but we're not giving you anything. So that's basically where we're at right now. So that's pretty much all I have for this session here. If there's any questions or comments, you can always send it to me at jeffrey.diabo@mck.ca. It also has my my other information at the bottom if you want to contact me other ways. But other than that, there's always the community meeting. Come out, participate, have your voices heard, and let's get things done as a community. Nyawa. Tanoona.